I kept my expression perfectly neutral as I slid the folder across his mahogany desk. The morning light streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows of his corner office felt different somehow. Sharper. More honest. What's this? David Thornton barely glanced up from his phone, his fingers still scrolling through what I assumed were congratulatory LinkedIn messages about Kyle's promotion. My documentation, I said simply. For the TechCorp campaign, thought you might want it for the files. He waved his hand dismissively, that familiar gesture that had once made me shrink but now just felt small. Sure. Leave it with Patricia on your way out. I didn't move. I wanted to watch his face when he opened it. Call it petty, but after 3 years of watching my work get reassigned to men who showed up to present my ideas, I'd earned this moment. The thing about being invisible is that you see everything. And I'd been invisible at Thornton and Associates for exactly 42 months. Not invisible because I was quiet or unremarkable. Invisible because David Thornton had perfected the art of looking right through the women who actually did the work while seeing only the men who played golf at his country club. Let me back up. 6 months ago I was still drinking the Kool-Aid. Still believing that hard work and results would speak for themselves. I just finished the TechCorp campaign, the one that would later go viral and add $2 million to our annual revenue. 6 months of 18-hour days, weekends sacrificed. My daughter Mia's soccer games watched via FaceTime from my car in the parking lot between client calls. The campaign was beautiful. I'm not being arrogant, it was objectively, measurably brilliant. We'd taken TechCorp from a forgettable B2B software company to a brand with personality, with voice, with a waiting list of Fortune 500 companies wanting to know their secret. The hashtag I'd created trended for 3 weeks. Their CEO, Lisa Wong, personally called our office to say it was the best marketing she'd seen in 20 years. I'd documented everything. Every brainstorming session, every draft, every revision. Timestamps on every email. My name on every original file, because this wasn't my first rodeo. 2 years earlier, I'd created a campaign for a boutique hotel chain that won an industry award. At the ceremony, I sat in the audience while Marcus Chen, our junior creative director at the time, accepted the trophy and gave a speech about his vision. I'd written every word of that campaign. He'd written the speech. A year before that there was the craft brewery rebrand. I'd spent 3 months embedded with their team, learning their story, tasting every experimental batch, interviewing the founders' families. The rebrand quadrupled their sales. My boss at the time, Richard, presented it to our partners as his portfolio piece and got promoted to VP. So when TechCorp happened, I knew better. I saved everything. Backed it up 3 ways: cloud, external drive, and yes, even printed copies in a folder locked in my file cabinet at home. My lawyer friend, Jennifer, had taught me that much during a wine-fueled dinner where I'd broken down crying about the hotel campaign. Documentation is everything, she'd said, refilling my glass. But Sarah, documentation without action is just a very organized way to get screwed. She was right. But I wasn't ready yet. I still thought maybe this time would be different. The presentation to the partners was on a Tuesday. I'd prepared the deck, rehearsed with Kyle the night before since David wanted him to get more FaceTime with senior leadership. Kyle was fine, 28, fresh MBA, decent at sports analogies. He'd contributed exactly one idea to the campaign. Using blue instead of navy blue in the logo. I'd humored him and A/B tested it. Navy blue won by 43%. I sat in the back of the conference room, laptop open, ready to answer technical questions. David started the meeting with his usual preamble about our culture of innovation and empowering the next generation of leaders. Then Kyle presented my campaign. To be fair to Kyle, and I'm trying to be fair here, he didn't claim he'd done all the work. He used we a lot. We decided to focus on authenticity. We took a risk with the unconventional approach. But every time someone asked a specific question, he fumbled, and I'd quietly feed him the answer from the back. And he'd repeat it like it was his own insight. The partners loved it. Of course they did. It was excellent work. At the end, David stood up, beaming like a proud father. This is exactly the kind of strategic thinking we need at the leadership level. Kyle, your vision here is outstanding. Which is why I'm pleased to announce that effective immediately, you're being promoted to Vice President of Creative Strategy. The room erupted in applause. Kyle looked genuinely shocked, which I appreciated. At least he had the decency to seem surprised. He caught my eye, and for a second, I thought he might say something. Correct the record. Acknowledge the truth. He didn't. I smiled. Nodded. Clapped along with everyone else. And in that moment, something inside me that had been bending for 3 years finally snapped clean through. Not into rage. Into clarity. After the meeting, I went back to my desk, opened a new browser window in incognito mode, and started researching. Washington State Non-Compete Clause Enforcement. Small Business LLC Formation Requirements. Commercial Lease Agreements in Seattle. SBA Loan Eligibility. I worked until 9 that night. Not on client work. On my exit strategy, the next morning, I scheduled coffee with Maria Chen, our art director. Maria was 41, had been with the agency for 7 years, and had been passed over for creative director 3 times. The current creative director was a 34-year-old man who'd been there for 18 months. I need to talk to you about something, I said once we were settled in a corner booth at the cafe 3 blocks from the office, and I need you to keep it completely confidential until I say otherwise. Maria's dark eyes sharpened. She'd been in this industry long enough to recognize the tone. I'm listening. Kyle got promoted for my work. Again. This is the 3rd time in 3 years I've watched my campaigns get reassigned and someone else get the credit. I pulled out my tablet and opened a folder. I have documentation, all of it. Every email, every original file, every timestamp. Good, Maria said flatly. What are you going to do? HR. I laughed and it came out bitter. I tried HR after the hotel campaign. Filed a formal complaint. You know what David told HR? That I was struggling with team collaboration and had trouble sharing credit. They made me attend a 3-day workshop on workplace communication skills. Maria's jaw tightened. She'd been in the room when that happened. She'd seen the fallout. So no, I continued. Not HR. I'm leaving, but I'm not just quitting. I'm starting my own agency. And I want you to come with me. I watched her process this. Her coffee sat forgotten, cooling in her hands. I've already talked to a lawyer, I said, before she could ask. Our non-compete clauses only enforce if we quit. They don't apply if we're fired. And they don't prevent clients from choosing to work with us independently. You're going to get fired? I'm going to get David to fire me. There's a difference. I spent the next week moving like a chess player. Quiet. Methodical. Every move calculated 3 steps ahead. Step 1 was legal. I met with Jennifer again, this time in her official capacity as an employment attorney. She reviewed my contract, my documentation, everything. You're golden, she said, leaning back in her office chair. Your contract is ironclad in your favor because David's lawyer is old school and doesn't update templates. The non-compete specifically states it applies upon voluntary resignation. If you're terminated, it's void. And there's nothing preventing a client from choosing to transfer their business. What about the work I've done? The intellectual property? Anything you created as a work for hire belongs to the company. But, she smiled. Your process, your methodology, your relationships with clients? Those are yours. And if a client independently decides they want to work with you personally, there's not a damn thing he can do about it. Step 2 was financial. I met with a small business advisor at the bank. With my savings, the equity in my condo, and my documented track record of successful campaigns, I qualified for a $200,000 SBA loan. I didn't take it yet, but I had it approved, ready to deploy. Step 3 was infrastructure. I found a co-working space in Capitol Hill with month-to-month terms. I registered an LLC under my daughter's middle name, Aria Strategic Partners. The website was built, tested, and ready to launch. It just wasn't live yet. Step 4 was the team. After Maria agreed, I approached 3 other people. Each conversation was careful, private, and only with people I trusted completely. James Rodriguez, our data analytics lead, had been promised a raise for 2 years. It never materialized. He was living on the same salary he'd started with while watching newer hires come in at 20% more. Rachel Kim, our senior account manager, had watched her male counterparts get promoted while she did twice the work managing our most difficult clients. And Thomas Wright, our copywriter, had seen his words presented verbatim by other people so many times he'd started keeping a plagiarism journal, as he called it, documenting every instance. They all said yes. Not immediately, Each of them needed time to think, to calculate risk, to talk with their families, but within 2 weeks, I had a team. A good one. The final step was the client. And this was the delicate part. I didn't approach Lisa Wong directly. That would be too obvious, too actionable. Instead, I did something simpler. I sent her an email from my personal account, not my work one. Subject line: TechCorp Campaign Archives, for your records. Body: Hi Lisa. I wanted to send you the complete archive of original materials from your campaign, including all preliminary research, draft iterations, and strategy documents. I know companies sometimes like to have the full creative history for internal reference. Best regards, Sarah Mitchell. I attached everything. Every original file with my name on it. Every strategy memo I'd written. Every revision with tracked changes showing my edits. The timestamps showing I'd created the core concept 6 months before Kyle was even assigned to the account. I didn't editorialize. Didn't complain. Just sent the facts and let them speak for themselves. Lisa responded 4 hours later. Sarah, would love to get coffee and discuss the campaign development process. Are you available this week? We met at a waterfront cafe on Thursday. Lisa Wong was 52, self-made, and had a reputation for being direct. She didn't waste time on small talk. I've reviewed all the materials you sent, she said, stirring her espresso. Very thorough documentation. I like to keep good records. I noticed your name on every original file. And I noticed at the presentation last month, you were feeding Kyle answers from the back of the room. She smiled thinly. I've been in business 30 years, Sarah. I know what I saw. My heart was pounding, but I kept my voice steady. What did you see? I saw someone doing the work while someone else took the credit. I also saw someone smart enough to document everything and professional enough not to make a scene. She leaned forward. Our contract with Thornton & Associates comes up for renewal in 6 weeks. I've been considering whether to continue the relationship. I didn't say anything. Let her lead. Here's my situation, Lisa continued. I don't care about office politics. I care about results. Your campaign delivered results. I want to work with the person who actually created it. But I assume you have a non-compete. I do. But it only applies if I quit. She understood immediately. Lisa hadn't built a $50 million company by being slow. And if you were terminated, then I'd be free to start my own agency. And if a client independently chose to work with that agency, there's no legal barrier. Interesting. She sipped her coffee. Here's what I'm thinking. Our contract renewal is in 6 weeks. I'm going to tell David that we want you as the lead strategist on our account going forward, with full creative control and direct reporting. If he agrees, great. If he refuses or retaliates against you in any way, we'll take that as our cue to explore other options. And if he fires me, then I'll know where to find you. She slid a business card across the table. Her personal cell number was handwritten on the back. I believe in betting on talent, not egos. Let's see what David believes in. I drove home shaking. Not from fear. From adrenaline. From the dizzy realization that this might actually work. That night, I sat Mia down at the kitchen table. She was 9, old enough to understand that something was happening, young enough that I wanted to protect her from the details. Baby, Mommy might be making a big change at work soon. It might be a little scary for a while, but I think it's going to be really good for us in the long run. She looked up from her homework, her dark eyes so much like her father's. Are you getting fired? Kids are perceptive. Maybe. Or maybe I'll start my own company. Will we have to move? No, sweetheart. We're staying right here. Will you be home more? That question hit me like a truck. When was the last time I'd been home for dinner on a weekday? When was the last time I'd watched her soccer game from the stands instead of my phone? Yes, I promised. I'll be home more. She nodded, satisfied, and went back to her math homework. As if the decision was that simple. As if she trusted me completely to figure it out. I couldn't let her down. The following Tuesday, David called me into his office. Lisa had made her call that morning. He was pacing when I entered, his face red in that way that meant he'd been yelling on the phone. Close the door. I did. I just got off the phone with Lisa Wong. He spun to face me. She says she wants you to lead her account. Direct reporting. Full creative control. Do you know anything about this? She mentioned wanting to discuss the campaign when we had coffee last week. You had coffee with our client? Without clearing it with me, she invited me. It seemed rude to refuse. Technically true, his jaw worked. This is completely inappropriate. You went behind my back, undermined Kyle's authority, and poisoned our client relationship. I answered questions about the campaign I created. That Kyle presented. As part of his portfolio, his promotion was based on his demonstrated leadership on that account. I could have let it go. Could have backed down, apologized, played the game for 6 more weeks until Lisa's contract renewal came through and I could execute the plan cleanly. But something in his tone, that casual rewriting of history, the absolute certainty that his version of reality would prevail, made me abandon caution. I created that campaign, I said quietly. Every strategy memo, every creative concept, every single deliverable has my name and timestamp on the original files. Kyle contributed one idea about logo colors that tested poorly. I have documentation of all of this. David's face went from red to purple. You're documenting your teammates' contributions. That's paranoid and toxic. This is exactly the kind of attitude that holds you back, Sarah. You can't share credit. You can't collaborate effectively. I collaborate fine with people who don't steal my work. The words hung in the air between us. I'd crossed a line, and we both knew it. You know what? David's voice went cold, which was somehow worse than the yelling. I've tried to work with you. I've given you opportunities, but clearly you're not a cultural fit for this organization. You're negative, you're divisive, and you're actively damaging our client relationships. I think it's best if we part ways. You're terminated, effective immediately. Security will escort you out. You'll receive 2 weeks severance. I felt the words land, felt them settle into place like the final piece of a puzzle. I understand, I said calmly. I'll collect my personal items. Security will do that and send them to you. I need you out now. As I walked through the office with the security guard, I saw Maria watching from her desk. She gave me the tiniest nod. Rachel was in a meeting but caught my eye through the glass conference room wall. James was at lunch, but I'd texted him from the elevator. It happened. Phase 2. I walked out of that building at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, unemployed for the first time in 15 years. I sat in my car in the parking garage and let myself feel it for exactly 5 minutes. The fear, the uncertainty, the what-ifs. Then I called Jennifer. He fired you. She sounded gleeful. In writing? Email should be hitting my personal account any minute. Perfect. Your non-compete is void. You're clear to operate. Next call, Lisa Wang. Sarah. She answered on the first ring. I heard. He terminated me about 20 minutes ago. Officially? In writing. Then let me be the first to welcome you to entrepreneurship. My contract with Thornton expires in 6 weeks, but I'm invoking the 30-day termination clause for cause. We'll need to find new representation immediately. Do you know anyone who might be available? I was grinning so hard my face hurt. I might know someone. That night, I pushed the button on the website. Aria Strategic Partners went live at 8 p.m. By 8:15, I had my first client contract signed. TechCorp, $2.5 million annually, 3-year term. By Friday, all 4 team members had submitted their resignations at Thornton and Associates. David couldn't understand it. From his perspective, his employees were mysteriously abandoning ship. He didn't connect it. Didn't realize they'd been planning this for weeks. We signed the lease on the co-working space the following Monday. 5 desks, a small conference room, a coffee station that Maria insisted we needed. It was modest, especially compared to David's glass palace. But it was ours. The first client meeting in our own space was surreal. Lisa brought her CMO and her VP of brand strategy. We presented our roadmap for year 1. When it was over, Lisa shook my hand and said, "This is what I wanted all along. The real thing, not the performance." Week 2, I got a call from another client I'd managed at Thornton and Associates, a regional restaurant chain I'd helped rebrand the previous year. "Sarah? It's Tom Green. I heard you started your own shop. News travels fast. I also heard what happened with David and the TechCorp situation." He paused. "I'm not surprised. Between you and me, we've been unhappy with the service since you got moved off our account. The new guy doesn't understand our brand. Would you be interested in taking us on? Second client, $400,000 annually. Week 3. A tech startup that had been in early conversations with Thornton and Associates reached out. Their CEO had seen our website and recognized my name from industry awards. I was about to sign with David's agency, but I wanted to meet the person who'd actually be doing the work. Turns out that person doesn't work there anymore. Third client, $300,000 for phase 1. By week 4, we had $2 million in annual contracts, 5 employees, a pipeline of prospects, and a problem. We were already at capacity. We need to hire, Maria said at our Monday morning meeting. Our first official Monday morning meeting as a company. We can't deliver this quality with just us. Agreed, I said. But I want to hire people who've been overlooked, people who are excellent but haven't been given the chance. We hired a junior creative who'd been stuck in an assistant role for 4 years at a big agency despite having a killer portfolio. We hired a strategist who'd taken time off to raise kids and couldn't get callbacks because of the resume gap. We hired a recent graduate from a state school who'd been told she needed an Ivy League MBA to make it in marketing. We built the team I wished I'd had. Month 3, David called me. His personal cell, not the office line. Sarah. His voice was different. Smaller. I think we got off on the wrong foot. I was hasty. I'd like to discuss bringing you back. Senior VP role. Significant salary increase. Full creative control. I was in the middle of a brainstorming session with my team. Through the glass wall of our conference room, I could see Rachel laughing at something Thomas had said. Maria was sketching concepts on the whiteboard. James was showing Lisa's CMO some data visualization on his laptop. David, I appreciate the call, but I'm not interested. Sarah, be reasonable. You're doing well now, but you can't sustain this. You don't have the infrastructure, the reputation, the client base. Come back and we can put all this behind us. We have $3.2 million in contracts. We're hiring our 6th employee next week. Our client retention is 100%. I think we'll be fine. You took my clients. Your clients chose to leave. Because they wanted to work with the people who actually did the work. This is unethical. No, David. What's unethical is taking credit for other people's work. What's unethical is promoting your golf buddies over qualified women. What's unethical is building a company culture where talent is invisible and ego is everything. I heard him breathing on the other end of the line. I have to go, I said. I have a meeting. Sarah, wait. I hung up. That conversation should have felt triumphant. And it did, partially. But mostly I just felt tired. Tired of the years I'd spent trying to make that place work. Tired of accommodating, documenting, proving myself over and over. But I also felt light. Free. That evening, I made it home by 5:30. I watched Mia's entire soccer game from the stands, not from my phone. She scored a goal and looked up into the bleachers to find me, and I was there, cheering. After the game, we got ice cream. Just the two of us. Is your new company good, Mommy? She asked, chocolate sauce on her chin. Yeah, baby. It's really good. Do you like it better than the old one? So much better. Because you're the boss now? No. I thought about it. Because I get to work with people who respect each other. And because I get to come to your soccer games. She nodded, satisfied, and went back to her Sunday. 6 months in, we'd grown to 8 employees. $5.2 million in annual recurring revenue. We'd moved into a real office space, small but bright, with enough room to grow. We'd won 2 industry awards, both with my name on them, both presented by me. I got invited to speak at a marketing conference in Portland. The topic was building authentic brands in the age of AI. I almost declined. Public speaking wasn't my thing. But Maria convinced me. You have a story people need to hear, she said. About doing the work that matters, about building something real. Tell it. The morning of the conference, I stood backstage, watching the previous speaker finish their presentation. My hands were shaking. Not from nerves about public speaking. From the weight of knowing that somewhere in that audience might be other women like I'd been. Talented, exhausted, invisible. I walked on stage, and the lights were blinding, but I could sense the crowd. 300 marketing professionals. I started with my story. Not the sanitized LinkedIn version, the real one. I told them about the hotel campaign I didn't get credit for. The brewery rebrand that someone else presented. The TechCorp situation. I told them about the documentation, the planning, the moment I realized that asking permission would mean never getting free. I'm not telling you to quit your jobs, I said near the end. I'm telling you that you have more power than you think. Your work has value. Your relationships have value. Your expertise has value. And if the place you're working doesn't recognize that value, there are clients who will. The applause when I finished was sustained. Loud. Afterward, 17 people gave me their business cards. 11 of them were women who'd had similar experiences. 6 of them eventually became clients. But the moment I remember most was in the hallway after, when a young woman, maybe 26, stopped me. "Thank you," she said, and her eyes were wet. "I've been documenting everything for 2 years. I thought I was crazy." "You're not crazy," I told her. "You're strategic. Keep documenting. And when you're ready, use it." I thought about that moment on the flight home. About all the talented people out there doing brilliant work for people who'd never appreciate it. About how many campaigns had my name on them that I'd never get credit for because I hadn't known to document, hadn't known I could leave. A year after I started Aria Strategic Partners, I got a LinkedIn message from Kyle. "Sarah, I want to apologize. I didn't understand at the time what was happening. I was young and stupid and so focused on my career that I didn't see how I was part of the problem. You deserved better. The company deserved better. I'm sorry." I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Part of me wanted to write back something cutting. But mostly, I was just done being angry. "I appreciate you saying that," I wrote back. "We all learn. Good luck with whatever you're doing now," he responded. "I left Thornton 3 months after you did. Turns out being promoted for someone else's work doesn't actually teach you how to do the work. I'm at a smaller agency now, learning properly. It's humbling, but it's better." I smiled at that. Maybe there was hope after all. Today, Aria Strategic Partners has 15 employees. We're on track for $8 million in revenue this year. We've turned down twice as much work as we've accepted because I refuse to compromise on quality or culture. Every employee has equity. Every person who does the work gets their name on it. Every meeting starts with the question, who actually did this? And how do we make sure they're recognized? Last month, a recruiter called trying to poach me for a CMO role at a Fortune 500 company. The salary was absurd. The title was impressive. I thanked her and declined. Because here's what I learned: the best revenge isn't getting even. It's building something so good, so true, so yours that you don't need revenge anymore. The best revenge is looking at what you've created and knowing that every brick of it was laid with your own hands. Every success earned by your own work. Every relationship built on honesty and mutual respect. The best revenge is coming home at 5:30 to watch your daughter's soccer game. The best revenge is walking into your office and seeing your name on the door, your vision on the walls, your values in the culture. The best revenge is being so busy building your own future that you don't have time to think about the past. I still have the documentation. All those files, all those timestamps, locked away in case I ever need them. But I haven't looked at them in months. Don't need to. The proof isn't in the files anymore. It's in the work. It's in the team. It's in the fact that when clients want authentic, strategic, brilliant marketing, they don't call David Thornton anymore. They call me.